this is New Time on Silkway TV channel. We introduce you with the most visible news and important events that happen throughout this week in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. More details on politics, economy, social and cultural life with opinions from the most recognizable experts of Kazakhstan and world. I'm Anuri Mangali and this is what you'll see today. Turkic integration. President Tokayev took part in an informal OTS summit in Budapest, calling on deeper economic cooperation. Kazakhstan will lead the growth of Islamic finance in Central Asia. Islamic Development Bank held in an annual meeting in Algeria. Daureni Sagula followed the agenda of the summit. International production of the series about the Golden Ord Empire concluded in Kazakhstan. The project will introduce the audience with the life and the legacy of Joshi Khan. Let's move to this week's top political story. Leaders of Turkic states gathered in Budapest for an informal summit hosted by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The high-level meeting focused on deepening regional cooperation amid shifting global dynamics. For the first time, the summit took place in a country with observer status in the Organization of Turkic States. What key priorities were on the agenda and what agreements did they reach? Watch our following report.
This week, Budapest became the meeting point of East and West. Heads of state from Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Turkey, Kyrgyz Republic and Uzbekistan gathered for the informal summit of the Organization of Turkic States. Hungary and Turkmenistan observers at the OTS also joined the discussions. The summit aimed to strengthen political, economic and cultural ties across the Turkic world. Among key issues discussed, trade, infrastructure and food security. Kazakhstan proposed preparing a new document aimed at expanding trade between the member states.
I propose preparing a document on expanding trade turnover between our countries. Authorized representatives should meet and discuss its development. It is also necessary to enhance cooperation in agriculture. Last year, Kazakhstan's agricultural trade with OTS participants amounted to $2.5 billion. Special attention should be given to agri-investment cooperation. We need joint scientific research and knowledge exchange in this area. We must establish collaboration between the OTS and the Islamic Organization for Food Security.
In addition, the head of state called on his counterparts to accelerate work on the construction of the Trans-Caspian oil and gas pipeline, stressing the need for coordinated action. He also has noted digitalization is another important area for development, announcing the start of laying fiber optic cable across the Caspian Sea. A project will enhance the region's digital connectivity. Trade cooperation also featured prominently in the talks. Last year, trade volume between Kazakhstan and OTS countries totaled $11.4 billion.
It is necessary to boost trade between our countries and expand the range of traded goods. Last year, Kazakhstan's trade volume with its partners within the organization reached $11.4 billion, accounting for 8% of the country's total foreign trade turnover. This is a good figure, but there is a potential for further growth. In this regard, I propose developing a special document focused on trade development.
Meanwhile, Kazakhstan continues to strengthen its ties with the Turkic nations. At the country's initiative, a permanent representative has been appointed to the OTS. And soon, Kazakhstan will host an official representative office of the organization, President Tokayev announced. Last week, the city of Turkestan hosted the first session of a new advisory platform of electoral bodies established at Kazakhstan's initiative. In June, Almaty will become the youth capital of the OTS by mutual agreement of the member states. At the same time, Kasım-Jomart Tokayev drew attention to the importance of adhering to agreements reached among OTS countries.
Kazakhstan is taking steps to digitize border procedures with the Kyrgyz Republic and Uzbekistan, to simplify transit and modernize logistics infrastructure, including the opening of the third railway checkpoint on the border with China. We call on all OTS countries to jointly implement large-scale infrastructure projects, including along the north-south corridor. This will significantly strengthen the Turkic region's position as a key transit hub.
Leaders agreed, in today's complex world, the unity of Turkic nations is more relevant than ever. The summit's theme, the meeting point of East and West, reflected their shared goal of strengthening connectivity and cooperation across the region. Following the summit, the heads of state signed 4 key documents, including the Budapest Declaration of the organization. Nuray Asılbek, Janirkait Magambet, New Time.
During the Organization of Turkic States summit held in Hungary, Kazakhstan's President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev held talks with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The leaders highlighted the dynamic development of trade and economic relations, with bilateral trade reaching nearly $200 million in 2024. Hungarian investments in Kazakhstan have exceeded $370 million, while the joint investment portfolio includes 18 projects valued at around $700 million. Covering key sectors such as engineering, agriculture and logistics. In this context, Hungary's role as the host of the OTS summit has opened new opportunities for regional cooperation and promising joint initiatives, said Sándor Kovács, member of the National Assembly of Hungary, in an interview to Silkway.
As an observer country, Hungary is hosting the informal summit of the Organization of Turkic States for the first time, and we can already see promising projects emerging on the horizon. We not only recognize, but also feel that this will undoubtedly lead to mutually beneficial cooperation. I firmly believe that in times like this, it is especially important to stand together and jointly defend our shared positions.
Hungary is particularly interested in boosting investments in energy projects of Kazakhstan. Its largest energy company, MOL, has already invested into development of Kazakhstan's gas fields. Cooperation in this sector, Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs Peter Szijjártó called strategic, adding that Kazakhstan is a strong and reliable partner of Hungary in the Central Asian region.
We have asked your president to make it possible for MOL to look for further investment possibilities in Kazakhstan. We are open for an even more strategic cooperation on the energy side. And we are thankful for the member states of OTS to allow Hungary to take part in the common work as an observer. And as we have contributed to the success of the organization, we're going to do the same in the future.
All other exclusive details from the visit of the President of Kazakhstan to Hungary, watch in the Reporter with President special project on Silkway, available on YouTube. Meanwhile, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan expand allied relations. The Majlis, lower chamber of Kazakhstan's parliament, ratified a treaty related to the issue that will give an additional impetus to multifaceted cooperation between countries. This and other major news from Central Asia is in my colleague, political analyst Aujet Shigirbayev's review on Central Asia.
On May 16, the second six-party meeting of the transport ministers of Central Asian countries and China was held in the capital of Kazakhstan, Astana. Official delegation from 5 countries took part in the event, including the ministers of transport of the People's Republic of China, the Kyrgyz Republic and Tajikistan. The Director General of the Agency for Transport and Communications under the Cabinet of Minister of Turkmenistan, Ms. Mametkhan Chakiev, and the First Deputy Minister of Transport of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Mr. Mamambio Umarov. During the negotiations, the ministers exchanged views on the current state of the transport sector, both within the Central Asian countries and in the broader international context. Particular emphasis was placed on the need for joint utilization of the region's economic, trade and humanitarian potential, especially in light of the region's growing role in international freight transportation. The heads of the delegations anonymously expressed support for the initiative to establish a multilateral transport cooperation program between Central Asia and China. This program is expected to serve as a foundation for deeper collaboration and digitalization in the sector. It will include the implementation of electronic document management, online cargo tracking, and the simplification of international road transport procedures. One of the key directions of this cooperation is a transition to electronic exchange of foreign permit forms, documents which is required for international transport. Kazakhstan already conducts such exchanges with China and Uzbekistan. Now, according to the agreements reached, this process will also be digitalized with Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. As of May 15, a free trade agreement between the countries of the Eurasian Economic Union and Iran has come into force, allowing Kazakhstan to save up to 70 million of USD annually on export duties. According to the Ministry of Trade of Kazakhstan, due to Iran's removal of export duties on 88% of goods originating from EU countries, Kazakhstan is expected to save up to 70 million each year. The most significant benefits of this agreement are seen in the export of agricultural products. Kazakhstan can now export wheat, barley, sunflower oil, oil cake, corn, lemons, mutton to Iran without additional duties. This makes Kazakh products more attractive to the Iranian market and increases the potential for expanded trade turnover. The ministry also reported that in the first quarter of 2025, trade volume between the two countries reached 129 million of USD, an increase of 82% compared to the same period of last year. Kazakh export to Iran showed particularly sharp growth, increasing 6.6 times to reach 86.4 million of USD. The 18th meeting of the Turkmen-Iranian Intergovernmental Commission on Economic Cooperation was held in Tehran. The session was co-chaired by Turkmenistan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Rashid Meredov, and Iran's Minister of Roads and Urban Development, Farzana Sadat Malikajert. The event brought together representatives of the government agencies and business circles from both countries, according to the Turkmenistan International Information Center. The participants discussed cooperation in trade and economic sectors, transportation and gas industry, agriculture, water management, as well as investment and standardization. They also reviewed the implementation of decisions made during the previous Commission meeting. The Turkmen side proposed the establishment of trade and economic zones in border areas to promote mutual trade between two countries. On May 20, 2025, an official meeting between the Committee for Technical Regulation and Metrology of the Ministry of Trade and Integration of Kazakhstan and delegation from the Uzbek Agency for Technical Regulation under the Cabinet of Ministers of Uzbekistan took place in Astana. The parties discussed key areas of bilateral cooperation in technical regulation, standardization, conformity assessment and metrology. Special attention was given to enhancing collaboration in conformity assessment, including the operation of the Information Center on technical barriers to trade and sanitary and phytosanitary measures, as well as state control mechanisms. Discussions also covered the prospect for deeper alignment of national standards with international and regional norms. Both sides shared updates on their current legislation and regulatory practices and expressed interest in further harmonization of their approaches. A key outcome of the meeting was the signing of a joint action plan for 2025-2026 between the Kazakhstan Institute of Standardization and Metrology and the Uzbek Center for Scientific Testing and Quality Control. The plan aims to deepen practical cooperation, facilitate knowledge exchange, and improve the quality of goods and services in line with international standards. Both sides reaffirmed their commitment to continuing constructive dialogue and viewed the agreements reached as an important step towards strengthening bilateral cooperation in technical regulation and standardization. This week, the Majlis of the Parliament of Kazakhstan ratified the Treaty on the Deepening and Expansion of Allied Relations between Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. The treaty aims to give new impetus to the comprehensive development of Kazakh-Kyrgyz cooperation. The document provides for the expansion of mutual beneficial cooperation and the comprehensive development of bilateral interaction in political, military, trade and economic, investment, agricultural, transit and transport, water and energy, educational, scientific and technical, and of course, cultural and humanitarian fields. In addition, the parties will expand and deepen cooperation in countering new security challenges and threats, including terrorism, extremism and separatism, as well as transnational organized crime, cybercrime, illegal immigration, human trafficking, and the illicit trafficking of weapons, narcotic drugs, psychotropic substances, and their precursors. Also, this week, the President of Uzbekistan, Mr. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, signed a law ratifying the Treaty on Allied Relations with Azerbaijan. The agreement was concluded in August 2024 and is aimed at strengthening cooperation between the two countries, also in political, economic, cultural, and other areas. The Senate of the Oli Majlis of Uzbekistan previously emphasized that the ratification provides a legal framework for the further development of interstate relations and the deepening of the strategic partnership between Uzbekistan and Azerbaijan.
And moving to some other news, Kazakhstan is poised to lead the growth of Islamic finance in Central Asia, according to the new report from the annual meeting of the Islamic Development Bank held this year in Algiers. During one of the largest financial forums in the world, a joint report was presented by the Eurasian Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank Institute, and the London Stock Exchange Group. According to projections, Islamic finance assets in the region could surpass $5.6 billion by 2033. And Kazakhstan, according to ISDB leadership, is well positioned to become the main driver of this growth. What decisions were made in Algiers and what role is Kazakhstan expected to play in shaping the region's new financial architecture? Watch our report from the Algerian capital.
Across the Algerian capital today, the flags of 57 nations are hanging along. Among them, the blue flag of Kazakhstan. Algeria is hosting one of the most significant gatherings in the financial world, the annual meetings of Islamic Development Bank. The forum brings together global financial leaders, policymakers and investors to explore new strategies for sustainable development through Islamic finance. The meeting is held under the theme Diversifying Economies and Enriching Lives. In this context, the Islamic Development Bank has announced a new long-term strategy through 2035. It aims to strengthen member state economies and unlock their full investment potential. The bank's vice president stressed the critical importance of such a strategy in the face of global trade wars and geopolitical tensions.
Economic diversification is the basis for any economic uprising. Any reliance on one project, on one sector, will doom the economic development in any country less than optimal. And in the work of IDB, we have developed a new strategic framework for the next 10 years that will enable our economies to cater for different capacity building in these member countries. We need to move from the one sector economies because in this day and age, with all the changes that are happening in the global economy, we need to build the capacity internally in our member countries to deal with different challenges.
During this year's meeting, the Islamic Development Bank approved over $1.32 billion in funding for strategic projects aimed at promoting inclusive growth, climate resilience and economic opportunity across member countries. According to a new report presented at the forum, Islamic finance in Central Asia could reach $5.6 billion by 2033. Taking into account demographics, economic growth and the size of banking sector in each of the 5 Central Asian countries, the ISDB reports Kazakhstan is likely to lead this expansion, followed by Uzbekistan. The bank's vice president noted that Kazakhstan is not only growing its economy, it is also becoming a model for the region.
Kazakhstan is a very important country for us. We do have a regional hub in Almaty, and we are very proud of the cooperation with Kazakhstan. Just a few months back, IDB has approved $1.1 billion for the water sector in Kazakhstan, and we're looking forward to diversifying. Speaking of diversity, diversifying our intervention with the Kazakhstan government. Kazakhstan also could play a very good role as an example for the countries in the region, and we're looking forward for an enhanced and enriched interaction between Kazakhstan and the rest of the member countries.
At the Islamic Development Bank meetings in Algiers, chairman of the Eurasian Development Bank, Nikolai Podguzov, announced that the EDB is now ready to issue its first Islamic bonds. It's a financing tool based on interest-free and ethical principles that is gaining strong demand across the region. According to Podguzov, demand for such instrument in Central Asia could reach $10 billion over the next 5 to 10 years. Kazakhstan is already actively involved in this process. Major joint projects between the EDB and the Islamic Development Bank include the new terminal at Almaty International Airport and the Bakat Ring Road around the city.
We are working on mutual projects together with Islamic Development Bank, and hopefully we will be able to print our debut Sukuk bond as soon as this year. For us, it's very important to develop Islamic finance across Central Asia, the region of our domestic activity. We see that within the next 5-10 years, the potential demand for Islamic finance could be as high as $10 billion. Last year in June, together with President Kassym-Jomart Kemelyevich Tokayev, we opened new terminal of Almaty Airport. Also Bakat, the ring road around Almaty, has been made together with Islamic Development Bank and EDB. So we have a number of projects in the pipeline to work together.
In total, the Islamic Development Bank has financed 462 projects across Central Asia with a combined value of over $8.39 billion. Kazakhstan currently ranks second in the region in terms of total funding received, following Uzbekistan. To date, 74 projects have been implemented in Kazakhstan in key sectors such as energy, logistics and water resources, with total support amounting to $1.6 billion. And here's another strong example of Kazakhstan's growing role in Islamic finance. Through the Islamic Organization for Food Security, an institution founded at Kazakhstan's initiative, the country is stepping up its contribution to global food security. On the sidelines of the Islamic Development Bank meetings in Algiers, IOFC signed a new partnership with UN Women. The aim is to empower rural women across West and Central Africa by supporting sustainable development in agriculture and food systems.
Our pilot project will be implemented in Sierra Leone and Nigeria to develop cassava value chain through survey and organizing workshops and collecting data and analyzing and reporting. So it's our first project with UN Women, and we hope to go to other countries in future to support women's and enhance their role in agriculture.
According to Islamic Development Bank President Dr. Al-Jasser, interest-free Islamic finance remains a relatively new but rapidly growing segment, playing an important role in sustainable development of Central Asian countries. The outcomes of this year's meeting in Algiers are expected to materialize soon through new joint projects. The next annual meetings of the Islamic Development Bank will take place in 2026, with the city of Baku, Azerbaijan's capital, set to host the global financial institution and thousands of its delegates. Daurian Sagulov, Nurdaulet Karabayev, reporting from Algeria, New Time.
Kazakhstan could become an investment hub for the entire Eurasia, said Ismail Ersahin, CEO of the World Association of Investment Promotion Agencies, in an exclusive interview on the sidelines of the Islamic Development Bank's annual meetings in Algiers. According to VIPA's 2022 report, Kazakhstan accounts for 46% of all foreign direct investment inflows into Central Asia. Today, the country works closely with VIPA through its national agency, Kazakh Invest. Mr. Ersahin noted that a key priority in the coming years should be the development of joint, clearly measurable investment targets. The organization currently brings together over 100 investment promotion agencies worldwide. Established in 1995 with the support of the United Nations, VIPA helped governments attract foreign investment, reduce bureaucratic barriers, and foster business-friendly environments. What is helping Kazakhstan move forward? Find out in our exclusive interview.
So thank you very much. Today you're taking part at the Islamic Development Bank meetings. So could you please tell us what are the WIPA's goals for this year's event? What messages did you bring with you tonight?
Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. WIPA is the global and unique organization of investment promotion agencies. We are here to represent all of our members, which are from more than 100 countries. ISTV is a strategic partner for WIPA, and we have been collaborating with them since quite a long time to support OIC member investment promotion agencies. And we were here how IPAs could help to overcome the obstacles in terms of investments, and how can they help to furthering, let's say, the global investments and FDI as a deal maker, as a somehow solution finder, door opener, and how can they be a bridge between the government and the private sector, because investment promotion agencies were actually established to simplify the bureaucratic hurdles and to speak the language of the private sector, to be able to address to the investors on behalf of the government by speaking their language, because the two sides are important to be understanding each other. Therefore, we do believe that it is a very important platform that ISTB had created for the entire global, let's say, investment opportunities, so that we were able to somehow to share the IPAs and our members' perspective here. And we are appreciative to our, let's say, strategic partner for giving us this floor.
We know that Kazakhstan has been working with WIPA for many years. So how would you position the country on the global investment landscape today?
Well, Kazakhstan has been a long-time partner of WIPA, and we have been, let's say, proud to collaborate with Kazakhstan, of course. And we were looking forward to be collaborating further with Kazakh Invest, and we are finding the ways to collaborate with them. It can either be an event in Kazakhstan, or it can be a training program, because WIPA is supporting countries to further empower their investment promotion agencies. So we are always open for these challenges and for these opportunities to collaborate with Kazakhstan. And we will be there anytime to support the endeavor of Kazakh Invest to promote the country, to facilitate sustainable investments, to advocate the platform, and to turn Kazakhstan into a more business-friendly environment. We do believe that very important steps are being taken for that endeavor, but WIPA is going to be, of course, always a strong partner to support Kazakh Invest in this target.
Do you have a shared investment target with Kazakh Invest in the years to come, like in volumes?
We haven't actually, but we are ready to collaborate to do that. Maybe the most important thing is to somehow define the targets jointly, because every country requires a different approach, different priorities, and it cannot be like one recipe which works for everybody. We do believe that tailored approach is necessary for every specific country. This is what WIPA do in any case. When it comes to the capacity building, when it comes to the technical assistance that WIPA is providing, when it's also the creating the strategy of FDI, it does require a tailor-made approach. Therefore, we are always open to do it together. We will have to be collaborating and to create a joint understanding, also including the views and the perspectives from international organization and also from the investors, because we do believe that the insights from the investors is very important. WIPA has recently established a business advisory board also to understand what the investors are expecting from investment promotion agencies. Therefore, I do believe that it can always be created, but it should be created with sensitivities, and it should be created somehow in a joint approach, and which specifically tailored to the specific countries.
Given your expertise, Kazakhstan today is attracting more than nearly half of all foreign investments in Central Asia. So do you see it can become a financial hub, not only for Central Asia, but the Eurasia as a whole?
It can indeed. There are a lot of potential, a very young and dynamic and skilled workforce in Kazakhstan. It's a land of, let's say, opportunities. Therefore, I do believe that there is a lot of opportunities that Kazakhstan can turn in the future in a real investments and for FDI and also for finance sector.
one last question. The outcomes of the IDB's meetings will shape the future of finance and cooperation for years. How do you see, what should country members be focusing on after this event?
From our perspective, FTI is crucial to spur growth, to further enhance exports, to create jobs for countries, and to connect the nations, our economies. This is why I do believe that one of the most important outcomes from WIPO's perspective is going to be somehow to help countries to create more business-friendly investment environments, to allow sustainable investments further grow towards OIC countries. And we do believe that the IPAs are the right actors, and they can play a very strong role to make this a reality with their understanding of investors, with their approach. They need to be further empowered, further supported. That's what we are looking for. And I do believe that ISDB is being a very strong supporter for that. And we are much looking forward to turn this into reality.
Thank you very much for your expertise and for this interview. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte welcomed the involvement of the U.S. administration in efforts to reach a peace settlement in Ukraine, but stressed that both European allies and Ukraine must be closely consulted in the process. His remarks came after a recent phone call between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, which lasted over 2 hours. Following the talks, President Trump stated that Russia and Ukraine would begin negotiations for a ceasefire immediately. However, the Kremlin noted that the process would require time, and Trump himself signaled that he was not ready to align with Europe on imposing new sanctions against Moscow. Both leaders described the conversation as constructive, but it remains unclear whether any substantial progress was made during the exchange.
But clearly the American administration is very much involved, closely coordinating with European colleagues and of course Ukraine, and I think that is very positive.
Following the talks, Ukrainian Foreign Ministry has stated that President Volodymyr Zelensky is ready to meet directly with President of Russia Vladimir Putin, signaling Kyiv's willingness to explore a path toward ending a conflict that has lasted for more than 3 years. However, analysts warn that due to deep divisions between the sides, the United States is unlikely to propose a solution that could fully resolve the Russia-Ukraine dispute. Russia continues to argue that lasting peace is only possible if the root causes of the crisis are addressed. Meanwhile, Ukraine and its European allies maintain that an immediate and unconditional ceasefire must be the starting point for any negotiations. Israeli soldiers fired what they described as warning shots toward a group of foreign diplomats visiting the West Bank. The United Nations has called the incident unacceptable. Reports say the delegation, which included representatives from over 20 countries, including the United Kingdom, France, Canada, and others, was on an official mission to assess the humanitarian situation near a besieged camp. Video footage shows Israeli soldiers opening fire as the diplomats were walking away from a gate blocking the road. At least 7 shots can be heard. The IDF said a preliminary investigation was launched as soon as it became clear the group was a diplomatic delegation. Foreign ministries from Italy, Spain, France and Canada have summoned Israeli ambassadors to demand formal explanations. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney stated at a press conference in Ottawa that Canada expects a full and immediate explanation of the incident.
The Israeli ambassador has been summoned to Global Affairs to see the minister and explain. We expect a full investigation. We expect a immediate explanation of what happened. It's totally unacceptable. It's some of many things that are totally unacceptable that's going on in the region.
Meanwhile, the United Kingdom, France and Canada have urged Israel to halt its latest military operation in the Gaza Strip, warning that continued escalation could prompt them to consider sanctions. In a joint statement, the 3 governments said they were strongly opposed to the expansion of Israeli operations, describing the scale of civilian suffering in the territory as unacceptable. They also criticized the Israeli government for restricting the flow of humanitarian aid in Gaza calling current provisions entirely insufficient. At the same time, the three countries reiterated their call on Hamas to release all hostages still held since the 7th October 2023 attacks. Israel launched a renewed ground offensive in Gaza on 18th May, stating its objective is to gain full control over the enclave. Localization, that's the main thing. Stephen O'Malley, the United Nations resident coordinator in Kazakhstan at interim, said in an exclusive comment to Silkway, he highlighted a major milestone. Almaty did Kazakhstan's first ever voluntary local review, a city-level assessment of progress on the Sustainable Development Goals that shows how global goals can be implemented locally. This development comes as Kazakhstan prepares to present its third voluntary national review at the UN high-level political forum in New York this July. The country is not only tracking SDG progress, but embedding the goals into national systems. Already 93% of the 69 priority indicators have been integrated into state planning documents, a sign of what the UN calls Kazakhstan's systematic approach.
So, first of all, I think Kazakhstan did an excellent job producing its third national voluntary review. Kazakhstan is one of a relatively small number of countries who has managed to do this on a regular cycle, so that's an excellent thing. Whereas Kazakhstan been extremely successful, for example, the reduction of poverty. So I think Kazakhstan has a lot to speak to. Again, as we've just been talking about, bringing the Sustainable Development Goals into national plans, aligning national plans with the Sustainable Development Goals is very important as well. Those are things where I think Kazakhstan can really speak to its progress. And I think the report is excellent because it really goes into a lot of detail, goal by goal, as to how Kazakhstan has been doing and what steps it's been taking as well.
And just before we go, filming of the historical series about the Golden Horde, the Golden Empire, has been completed in Kazakhstan. The final scenes shot in the Zhetisu region depict the intertwining fates of the characters and bring closure to the storylines. Each location adds to the atmosphere of the ancient era. Kazakh State Councillor Yerlan Karin recently visited the set and discussed the approach to the series finale and post-production with the creative team. The English-language documentary series consists of 6 episodes. The international project is being implemented by Karuga 7 Pictures and with the support of the Dara Foundation of the Presidential Initiatives, as well as the TV and radio complex of the President of Kazakhstan. The series tells the story of the Golden Horde through the life of Joshi Khan. Filming of the Golden Empire took place at 8 picturesque and unique locations across Kazakhstan, from the Kazakh Film Studio to the Kimasar Gorge, Tamgali Tas, and the atmospheric City of Nomads. That's it for today. All the main news about Kazakhstan and Central Asia you can find here. More special projects about our country you can also watch on Silkway TV channel. So stay tuned and see you next time.